Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Storyteller horoscope for you for March 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, if you'd like to book a live reading. Also, if you love the way I teach astrology and want to learn, there may be some slots in my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see more about and order my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, which has now become an Amazon bestseller. So you can see more about that at anniehelpsyou.com or at radicalprayerbook.com. So for Scorpio, for March 2019, we've got a massive amount of water energy in the stars that meshes really well with your energy. So this is a super flowy month for you, and it could cause overwhelm, but it could also cause a lot of awesomeness, a lot of sweetness. There are many, many details that I want to discuss with you, but I really want to use the visuals that I've been using so that I can get down into the details where you can see what I'm talking about better. So let's look at all the awesomeness of this month for you with the visual details now. Hello, Scorpio friends. Okay, so I'm going to give you the visuals of the summaries for Scorpio for the month, so that if you'd like to learn astrology or get more details about the things that I just highlighted, then this is perfect for you. First, we have to figure out if you are an early, middle, or late degree Scorpio. The sign of Scorpio is broken down into 3 designations. Early are pretty much the October born, or 0 to 9 degrees. If you're watching for your rising or moon, then you can use the degree here to see where you are there. Also, if you know your sun degrees, you can use that. Middle degree Scorpios around the first 10 days of November, 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees. And late is around November 11th through the rest of the sign, or the 20 through 29 degrees. Okay, so if you missed that, then just rewind it until you get it straight. And we will move on to the things that I want to show you. It's really fun to have the visual aspect because it's easier to learn, and sometimes even if you're not trying to learn more, just understanding how things are affecting you, for you visual people, it's easier to check it out this way. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about, which is going to be true for all early, middle, and late degree placements. I'm using this late degree chart, but it doesn't matter because the things I'm talking about aren't related to the houses, they're related to general energies, so this is for all of you. Okay, so the first thing to note is that we have a ton of Pisces energies occurring this month. And in general, Pisces energy blends beautifully with Scorpio energy because they're both water. So you may find this time of the year has a certain special introspective flow that works very well with your nature. So we've got, some longer term planet movement through Pisces here, but then we've got, of most note this month, the shorter term placements, which is the Sun and Mercury. Sometimes this can just be sweet, beautiful ease and harmony, since the planets are making, the Pisces planets are making a 120-degree angle to your placements, your Scorpio placements, so that's the most favorable in all of astrology. But sometimes because of the likeness, it can also bring overwhelm or extra emotional energies. So just kind of be aware of that. You may need more grounding. All right. Grounding. Scorpio energy has an amazing capacity to dive into the abyss. And sometimes that's voluntary, where you go and get insights and go really deep. But sometimes it's involuntary, falling into the abyss. And if you find that's the case, then I always like to suggest barefoot, being outside. I know this time of the year, in most places, it's not super easy to be barefoot outside. Putting your third eye up against a tree, something that can help connect you in with earth energy. It's actually a frequency. This isn't a metaphysical woo-woo thing. This is vibrational. It can be proven with certain devices. You can test these things. You can measure these things. And the earth frequency can be especially helpful at this time. So whatever you've got to do, there are these grounding mechanisms. I prefer the actual earth energy myself, but whatever you've got to do to try to help you stay grounded, to best use this energy. It can be super creative, super intimate, and can make for lots of romantic opportunities and also just close, intimate, important conversations and connections. The second thing that I want to talk about for this month is the fact that Mercury is retrograde, and it's retrograde in Pisces. So again, because of the relationship between Pisces and Scorpio, as Mercury moves from 29 degrees of Pisces back to 16 degrees, that's half of the sign. That means half of Scorpio, the latter half. So, around November 6th through the rest of the sign, or if your degrees around 16 degrees to 29 degrees, during this month, Mercury is going to come and make a trine with your Scorpio placements. So it'll come back and retrograde, making the trine, and then when it moves forward, it'll make the trine again. And it had already made the trine, so this will be happening 3 times for those of you, because when Mercury moved to the degree that it's at now, it made that trine. Then when the retrograde is going to go back, and then when it goes direct, it'll happen 1 more time. So these 3 sweet spots of things from the past bringing blessing. And this can be through contacts, people that you know from the past, things coming up from the past. If you have an urge to connect with someone from the past, it could be very fruitful for all Scorpios. But there's a special extra series of blessings for that second half for you. Projects from the past, having life breathed back into them. Anything from the past has extra chance for blessing now. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is where Mercury is going to be retrograde for each of you early, middle, and late degree placements. Okay, so let's start with the late degree since we're here. You can see Mercury is here, so it's going to spend its entire transit retrograding through your 4th house. So for you latter, people in the later degrees of the sign, let me see if this is going to be true for middle degree so I know if it groups you too. Yeah. Okay, this is also true for you middle degree placements, what I'm about to talk about. See, Mercury will start out in the 5th house and we'll go back into the 4th house. And then for you early, it's just going to stay in the 5th house for you guys. Okay, so what does it mean when Mercury goes retrograde in your 4th house? That means the odds are greater that things notable to the 4th house are going to come up, and especially from the past. So to understand the ways this can manifest, we have to understand what the 4th house is. So I'm using the late degree chart, but this is specifically for middle and late degree people. Okay, now some of you early degree people may see some of this just from the general nature of Mercury retrograde going back to old things, but it's especially prominent in the 4th house for middle and late degree placements. So things going back to home, maybe you're going to visit your family. That's a standard way I've seen it manifest. Going back to a place that feels like home. Having relatives, visiting relatives or having them visit you. Issues from the past, childhood things that have not been resolved yet coming back to be dealt with, or things that you have resolved from the past coming and bringing beautiful, wonderful things from the work you've done on them. This is a childhood psychology house. So very often when there's retrograde in this, it's like things we swept under the rug is picked up, all the dust is going back in the air, and it's just kind of a dust storm of things that have to be dealt with. This can be for better or worse. Many people will be dealing with real estate issues from the past, maybe a family property, or discussions amongst family members, or projects that you wanted to work on with your family members. This is the house of mother. So there are some things sometimes specifically related to mom or maternal energies or your own mothering or own maternal side. But it can relate to any family member. This is also your household. You may move. You may temporarily stay with some place, in a house that you lived in before. This can have to do with roommates. Someone can move back in. Things like that. Lots of real estate things. And people who have businesses that are home-based, like you work from home, this could also relate to your business. Or this can relate to, anything like design or construction or anything related to houses or real estate, things like that. Okay, so then the early and some of the middle degree placements, you're going to have this retrograde. For the early ones, it's going to be only focused in the 5th house. For you middle, you're going to have, some 5th and some 4th, which we already talked about. So the 5th house has to do with romantic partners. Something notable about a partner from the past, something happening to them notable, something you connecting with them, having a breakthrough, them coming back to renegotiate something. Or someone from the past who has a romantic interest may come back back into front and center with new possibilities. This can also have to do with things involving children. So if a child had an issue or an opportunity from the past, that can come up now. Let's say they had an issue that you thought was dealt with, it could come back up. Let's say there's something that they enjoyed doing, a talent, something they were into, it could come back up. Or just kind of reconnecting with children. Also creative projects. So creative projects from the past, going back and breathing life into things. As I mentioned before, this is just kind of a general story, but especially this is the projects from the past. Anything that puts you out in front of people, actors, anything where people are looking at you, people in the fashion industry, things from the past can be especially notable at this time. Hobbies, fun, things that you did from the past that were fun, more likely to come up to be done again. Going back to something that you used to love to do. For those of you who are already in your romantic relationship of choice, you may go back to doing things that you did in the past that worked for you, or fun things, or issues from the past, specifically related to your love life, could come up to be worked with again. The degree to which these things continue to come up is the degree to which they are not resolved. So, if you see a pattern coming up, like here it goes again, you have a chance at resolution. So welcome it. And it's very possible that you can have a breakthrough with this energy. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about is just following your ruler here for a minute, which is Mars, one of them. Pluto is one of your rulers, but Mars is also a co-ruler for you. Wherever Mars is in the chart, it's like it gives you extra restlessness. I call it the border collie of the zodiac. So wherever it is activating, it's bringing opportunities and energy and focus and restlessness. Sometimes it brings conflict, but often it will bring win-wins or solutions, something like that. So you early degree people, you're going to have your border collie energy, just, restlessness, focus, lots of energy in partnerships and relationships. Strong focus there. Could be arguing, could be fighting, but you can turn that energy around and shift it to win-win, and that's the ideal use of it. The middle and late degree people, you're going to have this energy accentuating I'm using the middle degree chart, but it's the same for you late ones. I'm just going to show you here. So see for middle, Mars is there, and see for late. Oh, actually that's late, and then you can see for middle, Mars is here. For your very early middle, you might have some of that 7th house energy really activating for you already. If not, it's moving there soon. So the 6th house has to do with your daily routine. People with this going on may want to get super organized, restructure their space, get new systems together, reevaluate everything. This is a really great month for reevaluating things because we had a huge push from the end of December through, close to the end of February of open windows for just like, get everything out, do everything, make your decisions, do your stuff. And now it's kind of like pulling back time to look at the things that you've done and see what you'd like to restructure for the future. When the planets start getting into Aries, which is going to start around March 20th, the sun is going to get to Aries and Mercury will follow eventually. It's more of a time for action, but this is kind of the time for reevaluating and trying to figure out a plan. The implementation is better into April, but the planning process is really good. Focusing on that now. Okay, so the 6th house is also related to health things. So you might notice you're getting really excited about doing stuff for your health, your routine, different practitioners, new practitioners, old practitioners. There could be a health drama. If you've got a symptom, definitely, go check it out. Your symptoms are our body's talking to us. Ignoring symptoms is ignoring your body, is being disconnected with your body, is not listening to your body. And often when we do that, the yells have to get louder and it could create crisis. So getting back in touch with your body is great use of this energy. And things involving pets could come up to the forefront. If you're wanting to get a new pet, if the perfect one comes to you, just trust the flow. But in general, for a long-term pet arrangement, a couple, getting into April a little bit more may be better if you can help it, because the energy of Mercury retrograde is more short-term. that's not an absolute. You know, there are certain situations that there can be exceptions, but just in general, just kind of note that the energy of March is more short-term or interim. So it's good for like fosters or things like that, or just kind of like readying your house and kind of researching breeds and of animal or something like that. But your pets might want more attention, or you might have more time for them. Okay, so these are the things that are most on my mind for Scorpio for this month. And now I want to give you my highlights of the most important general transits to note that will definitely affect you, some specific dates to look out for. So I'm going to go into all that now. So the general transits of March 2019 carry the energy of sudden changes amidst a quiet rest. March continues the trend that started in February of 2019 with more sweet aspects than challenging ones, which is very exciting. So this dreamy and creative Pisces energy is going to dominate the month of March. Then around the 20th, as the sun moves into Aries, the climate will change, the energy will change, but most of the month is covered in this quiet creativity after this push of the window that we had that opened at the end of December and went into the end of February, beginning of March. So it's a great time to experiment and work in the backdrop. Things from the past are very likely to come back. Blessings from the past, things you've done from the past, projects from the past, people from the past. There's a strong tilt with the retrograde energies. So Mercury will officially be in retrograde from March 5th through the 28th. Depending on your time zone, those dates could toggle a little bit. But the whole month, and even starting February 19th and going to April 17th, there's the retrograde transit, because there's a pre-transit shadow period and a post-transit shadow period when the energies are starting to shift. So it's a long transit. Making commitments to short-term arrangements could be perfectly fine, but just know that in general, the energy shows a shorter term agreement or a shorter term energy. So things that you do in this time, if you're intending them to be long term, they often wind up being shorter term than expected, or if they do make it into the long term, they get seriously called into question or have to change dramatically in order to be able to persevere. But for short term things, interim plans, things like that, it can be perfectly fine. It's great for trying on things, continuing with things you've already been doing, editing, anything like that. Also watch paperwork and other agreement details carefully, because Mercury ruling communication can interfere with the clarity of information that you get at this time, and things agreed to will likely be shifted, or you might not know all the information. Also, things involving transportation are more likely to come up. So problems with your car, trips, changes to plans, those are all common. But in general, the month has definitely more sweet aspects than challenging ones, and it's a very nice rest in between these push points. Okay, so once we start to get into April, it's going to be time to push again, and you'll start to feel that energy starting at the end of March, but it's going to brew and get stronger and more clear as we get into April. One of the twists, or the big twist this month, is amidst this smooth and introspective flow, Uranus is moving back into Taurus to stay until, years from now. So generally the transit is around 7 years. It popped in last year to Taurus and then it went out. And as you may recall, the energy as it popped in was instigating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and wild weather that has still continued. Also, there have been a lot of things going on in the news that relate to the breakup of old systems and the solidity of intact systems that are getting disrupted. And Uranus moving through Taurus, this is very typical of that energy. So these kind of changes and disruptions and volatility probably will shift. So our relationship to the changes is what we get to have control over. So these changes to old systems can be a very welcome thing if things are stodgy and not working. But in the places where there's some security, sometimes that can be upset in these times. And this goes all the way down, starting at the global level, all the way down to the individual experience. So Uranus bringing changes there amidst this quiet time and beyond. In general, the recommendation for this time is to keep your commitments as light as possible and as flexible as possible. You can certainly do things, but just know that things that are planned could get called into question. There could be shifts. They could still work out, but there's definitely a lot more of a kind of a last minute flowing, flexible energy that works well with this time. So I'm going to give you the days that there are sweet aspects. Do know that even if I give you a date that's supposed to have a sweet aspect, you can feel that aspect days before or days after. And some days have more than one aspect, with one of them being sweet and one of them being challenging. So you really just need to tune into your intuition with this awareness. The dates I'm going to give you, you can also find written as well as explanations of all the aspects and what you can expect with them when you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and sign up for my free email newsletter. Then I send out a written version of this general report a month beforehand so that you have it to look at and make your plans and you can understand the energies at play. But in general, try not to stick too heavily to a certain date as being a certain way, because the carryover of the aspects can definitely, stretch over a period of time. So you just kind of have to feel your way through. Okay, so the dates with the sweet vibes: March 2nd, 6th, 8th, 9th, 13th, 14th, 17th, 20th, 27th, and 28th. And the ones to look out for a likelihood of stress and challenges and drama or overstimulation or general awkwardness: March 1st, 5th, 6th, 14th, 15th, 22nd, and 28th. So you can see there are less of those aspects that are more challenging. So I'm just going to hit a couple of other highlights here, some of the dates that are most calling out to me to discuss. The rest of them, like I said, you can sign up for the newsletter and you can see all of my aspects that I put on here for you in the newsletter. Okay, so on March 1st, it kind of starts out with a bang with an aspect with Venus and Uranus. So often that can bring jolts to love or money or your certainty or self-esteem. So just kind of look out for that. But there is another sweet aspect, or a sweet aspect the day after, that could kind of help to bring a happy outcome from that, or could soften the energy. The days around March 5th, Mercury actually goes retrograde, and there's more awkwardness around the days before and after it changes station. So, second, third, fourth, fifth, more awkwardness, more changes. Just try to keep your scheduling light. One of the big days of the month is March 6th, the new moon at almost 16 degrees of Pisces, and this is also going to be conjunct Neptune, the Sun conjunct Neptune. So you can check out my blog if you go to Annie Helps You, or if you just search for Making Powerful New Moon Wishes in Pisces, you can find my blog that helps to guide you using that energy in the best way for creating the life of your dreams. But in general, this is an extremely dreamy and introspective month, and this moon is especially so because of the sign it's in and because of the Neptune aspect. But it's an artist's delight, and I really love this time for rest and retreat and rejuvenation, and being surrounded by inspiration, going to an inspiring place. Definitely watch your security all month, but this particular transit, things going on behind, your conscious knowing with internet or home or other security, just be on guard there. Okay, March 6th, the date that Uranus moves back into Taurus. Sometimes we see things happen to the date or very close to the date that are notable, although things have already been happening since Uranus has been marching back towards Taurus. Things have been really getting stirred up over the last couple of months. All right, some sweet aspects and challenging aspects that I listed the dates already, but the other big date I want to talk about is that full moon at 0 degrees of Libra on March 20th. I talked about this in some of the individual reports as well, but this is the third supermoon in a row. And it's the third one at 0 degrees, which is the first degree of the sign. So this is denoting major new beginnings, major clean slates, major breakup of old ways, some of those ways we don't want to leave, and so we could be resisting, but some of it could be welcome change that we've been working for a long time, and just sort of karma clearing up and lots of magic. I really love this full moon, even though it will be intense for better and worse. Full moons are always intense, but this is also a supermoon, and it's also at the that first degree. So think about the intensity that we had at the eclipse time around January 21st, and then the full moon in February. Those supermoons tend to bring more emotion and more power to the experience. This is also the spring equinox. This is also the first day of the astrological new year, which is a very exciting time to do a vision board. Also, the new moon in Aries, which will happen in April, is one of the other best times to do a vision board, planting seeds for what you would like to create in your life. But this March 20th time is very, very powerful, very, very powerful. There's also 3 awesome aspects that are occurring simultaneously. Mars in Taurus is trining Pluto, and Mercury in Pisces is making a sweet aspect to Saturn, or maybe that was it. So there's 2 aspects. And those are just adding to the beautiful, powerful nature of this time. So then on March 28th, we have, or the 27th, depending on your time zone, Mercury is going direct. So again, the awkwardness around those dates, to just be extra careful driving, walking, with your communications, your devices, don't drop them in the toilet. This is more likely to happen during these Mercury retrograde cycles where your cars or other vehicles or communication devices need some attention or extra care. Don't text while you're driving. Don't text while you're walking, if you can help it. Oh, one other thing, we started out the month with that challenging aspect with Venus on March 1st, and now we end the month with a sweet aspect with Venus. So sweet surprises in money and love can come with this one. So it's a nice counterbalance to that jolt at the beginning of the month. So if you love how I do astrology and you'd love a live reading, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Work With Me, and see my astrology coaching section. If you would love to learn astrology because you resonate with how I teach, there may be some slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. I would love to have you aboard. If you think I go into details in the reports, then you should see the details I go into the astrology apprenticeship program. Definitely check out my new book, Radical Prayer: Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. It has already become an Amazon bestseller, so it's very exciting. So you can either go to radicalprayerbook.com, or you can search for my name and Radical Prayer in Amazon. Also, that should start to be available internationally at different booksellers. You should be able to get that at kind of brick and mortar bookstores as well. So go to anniehelpsyou.com, go to cozybysweetstarlight.com for written horoscopes from me. I also do a write-up talking about different things than I do in the videos that supplement, and if the videos are a little bit intense, the cozybysweetstarlight.com horoscopes are the antidote to that. They're super light, super easy to follow, and give you some different aspects to understand. Okay, so you can go to my husband's website, iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. He does tarot readings. He also does some astrology readings, and he does visual work with audio-visual work. So you can check out his offerings there. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.